What up, what up, what up? What's good? What's happening? Hello, everybody. It is a little bit late, but we are
What's
here,
good? What's
ready to give you
happening?
guys
Hello,
what you guys need. So, welcome me and my co host, Dan Estrada. I'm the Infinite. We're going to go ahead and talk about the state of Smash today. So, Dan, you could take us away.
Yeah, sorry if I'm like distracted here. I'm just trying to get the stream to work on my Xbox and it's not. But whatever. Not here nor there. Yeah, we're talking about Smash Ultimate as it's approaching. It's been out for 1 year. The fifth character just came out, and I thought we should talk about like 1 year in review of Smash Ultimate. Where are we now? How do we feel about it? What we'd like to see going forward? All sorts of things of that nature. So, for starters, um, let's talk a little bit about the state of the game. Um, Mainly, as I mentioned before, there have been 5 characters added since launch, and many buffs and nerfs in that time as well. And interestingly enough, and this is not common with any other Smash game to my knowledge, there's a lot of parity at the top. They're like at the top and competitively, there's not one go-to character, there's not one go-to player. There's a lot of people who are very good at this game with a lot of section, like a lot of different characters, and I think that's pretty incredible. Um, so yeah, so what do you feel about Smash in its current iteration?
I'd start off by saying that the game is good, and I think it is the best iteration of Smash there is to date. People will always have their favorites, and one might have paved the way for other games and so on and so forth. Like games like Melee. I do appreciate Melee, but I mean, like, I just honestly think that in general that this game's probably the best out of all of them thus far. That doesn't mean
Mm-hmm,
that the game doesn't have its issues, like for me,
mm-hmm,
particularly, like one of the biggest things is they didn't really super evolve the game. And I mean, like, that's weird to say because they did a lot of things right and there's like a lot of good things about it. But like, I also feel like there should have been something different with the mechanics. To me, like, in a lot of ways, it's a fair amount of copy pasta with a little bit of speeding up, slowing down, kind of changing the floatiness of the characters and so on and so forth. And I felt like this was like a good opportunity for them to improve on some of the basic mechanics of the game. And I just don't think that happened. And it's definitely what I was kind of like looking for to some degree, is like some way to return to neutral, I think is the best way to put it. That isn't, directional. This is how you land, this is how you have to get back on the stage. Like, there were like elements of that I feel like are too one dimensional, that make the game kind of dry. And I don't mean that in like the game's not fun, that there aren't fun things about the game. I just mean when you talk about from a mechanical standpoint, it's very cut and dry. These are the ways you recover. This is the way you beat somebody, so on and
The
so forth.
the idea of it is supposed to be simplistic though. Like this was always meant to be a game that anybody could pick up and play and have fun with their friends and family. Like that's why Sakurai makes these games still. I don't ever expect them to be too complex. Like there's already a couple complex characters that sometimes feel out of place. And they're not bad, they're good. They're just hard to play because it requires knowledge of outside games to be good at them.
Yeah, I mean, like, that's kind of the thing for a lot of people. Is, there's so many people that want it to be something that obviously Sakurai doesn't want to make it, and I think that's really the pull. Like, one of the things that I like brought up, or that's in my list, is the whole aspect of the community seems really divided, and I'm not sure if it's the community versus Nintendo, or if it's the very niche communities that exist in the community itself, because there seems to be a little bantering in all those directions if you're paying attention to it, and but it's obviously not what we experience hosting a company that hosts events for the game itself. It's just like we get it, but it really could be both ways in my opinion. But hey, it's his property, it's his baby, and he's obviously going to make it the way he wants it. But it's
I mean,
obviously.
for what it's worth, I think it's a fairly good game competitively in comparison to like other Smash Brothers.
I think Melee's probably
The the
better.
only reason people think Melee is better is because they were able to break that game and make it run incredibly fast, and that was never supposed to be the intention. Like wave dashing was not a mechanic that Sakurai put in the game purposely, and that was before the time of patching games. So that's the version you get. I like if people weren't able to break Melee the way they were, I don't think that people would like Melee as much.
I think you're right. I think you're right. And I mean,
And like
like
Melee's, don't get me wrong, Melee's great. Melee's fine. Melee is, a lot of people say that's the best Smash. I disagree. I think this is by far the best Smash. It's got the best roster. It looks the best. It feels the best. It's so out of the 70 characters, no one character stands above above all, and there's no one person who's mastered this game. That's the thing with Melee is there are constant just waves of one person always on top, one person always on top, one person always on top. This one actually kind of feels like it could be anybody's game, and it is kind of anybody's games. As there's been 5 majors this year, or maybe 6, and they were all won by different people playing as different characters. That's incredible. When you look at the same thing for the Melee majors, they were almost all won by Hungrybox. Almost all of them. That's horrible. That's not fun. And nothing against Hungrybox. He's great. And I think people who give him crap because he's so good is ridiculous. But it's just boring to watch the same person win every time.
right. I agree there. I agree there. And I mean, I do like the point that Melee being broken being the reason that people like it so much and so on and so forth. And I think that has built. I mean, that's the thing though, is it's not like Smash isn't a bad game, and it's not like it wouldn't be popular if the competitive scene didn't exist. I think that has actually propelled it to the the position it is in, and I just wish there was a better way or a kind of meeting in the middle from the company Nintendo in this sense. I wish they just didn't hey, it's a party game and a party game only,
But it's
I
not
feel like
they the problem is that it's a party game, but it's not a party game only. They very clearly, do host competitions for it. I mean, some of the Nintendo run competitions are a little suspect because they're items turned on and weird stages and stuff like that, but they recognize it as a competitive game for what it's worth, or else they would not nerf characters. There'd be no reason to nerf characters if they just thought it was, fun party game.
I take that with a grain of salt. I really do. I think games are kind of coming around, and I think to some degree that is somewhat placating to that audience, but not entirely. Every review that I listen to of somebody saying, okay, this is the patch change, this is how it affects characters, and this is what I would like to see versus what we got, even the patches themselves seem very simplistic in nature, and I mean, there's a lot of things that they could change that could actually change the game a lot, and they really go really slow, or they're fine-tuning some of the things that aren't extremely polished when they actually release the game. And I'm not sure which one it is, because a lot of the patches, they were fixing some of the moves that didn't work properly, they're fixing bugs, and these things exist in the game, but that seems to be the focus of their attention, not necessarily to make characters good or bad. They're not really, it doesn't seem like they're taking a whole lot of information about what characters are overpowered, which ones are underperforming. It's certain things just don't function properly, and it's okay, well, this is the fine-tuned polish, and that's more of what it feels like to me when I watch the patches, when I listen to people talk about the game, when I watch the game, and how it kind of evolves, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, I disagree to an extent because for one, Diddy was god awful when the game came out, and now Diddy is actually a good character, so it's a pretty big change.
I mean, there's like lots of characters get changed for no reason as well, and then there's like also characters that just don't really function. Like everybody talks about Little Mac. Like even though he's not considered a very good player, like people hate him, and it's like he just doesn't work within the framework of the game itself. And
I think he's fine. I have no problem with Little Mac. I don't know.
it's like a meme character in a lot of people's opinion. And I mean, we have
I
good
mean,
Little Macs in our community, so I mean, it's not that it's not. There's never a situation to where it's not doable. Period.
yeah, I was about to say
But
there was a Little Mac in top four in I think Summit or Big House recently. So
yeah, they're good players. But I mean, even they go, hey, the character has extreme limitations.
well, yeah, but
Uh, all,
that's the whole idea. Like he's incredibly strong on the ground and terrible in the air. That's the character's design. It's designed to be limited in the air because a boxer is not known for air game. But he's
right.
like incredibly strong on the ground. Like can kill you in like 3 hits strong.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. But I
I
mean,
think that's
even
totally fair.
I
You
think a
can't
lot
you
of the
can't make
people.
someone great both.
No,
Like
well, I
it's
mean, nobody's advocating for that, but for him to make sense in the game itself. So
I
it's
think
like
it makes sense.
you're never gonna take all these crossover characters and kind of like because in a lot of situations, most things don't make sense, and playing too much to lore kind of isn't
There's
good
no
for
lore of
balance.
Smash. Like, there's not real lore of Smash Brothers.
Well, there's lore in the sense of the nature of each and every character. So, you mentioning, hey, a boxer shouldn't be good in the air because he's a boxer, but it's like you're inserting him into a different reality. He's not going to function the way he would in his reality.
Right, but they're playing to his strengths and weaknesses.
To a
Every
degree,
character
right?
plays to their strengths and weaknesses.
Right. And like again, that's simply them playing on lore, like building in different aspects of each and every one of their
Well, no, that's
universes.
just attention to the character. That's like I mean, you could put any character in there and just make it a meat like Sans. You could be like, oh well, Sans wouldn't fight like this. Well, yeah, that's why he's a me costume. Like, yeah, they could have made a Little Mac me costume, but they made it a character, so they wanted to have more detail with the character. Like all these characters are very carefully constructed with how they exist in their own universe to an extent. Because Sakurai is not trying to step on anybody's toes, and he's trying to make sure that every character is shown the absolute justice they deserve.
I think when we have these conversations, though, like me and you have like different focus and stuff like that, because I'm kind of considering the different elements of like what makes them competitive, what makes them work within the universe, and so on and so forth. And you're like, well, it plays to what they are and what I envision them to be, and it feels like it stops there, and that's fine. It's just not really necessarily what I'm looking for in a lot of
But
senses.
but you said competitive, and he is competitively viable. We just talked about that. Every character in that game is competitively viable.
A lot of people would say otherwise.
Well, then he should never have placed fourth in a major tournament.
I mean, in a lot of senses, it depends on like who shows up and so on and so forth, and
It was a major tournament, so most of the big names showed up.
well, in some senses, yeah, it depends. There's just a lot of things that go into it, but in general, when the community says in general, it's either the worst character in the game or one of the worst character in the game. Even the people who play him competitively are kind of just stuck, and just people have character biases and they'll stick with those character biases, but 90% of the community would be like, yeah, he's a terrible character, terrible design, even. It just doesn't work for the framework of how the game functions. you know and that's just
Agree
the
to
general
disagree.
that's just the general consensus of everyone that seems to be a part of the competitive community in general. It's definitely the consensus of everybody that comes to our events. It's definitely the consensus of most pros. It's definitely the consensus of anybody who makes videos about the game in general. So it's like, that's a lot of feedback of how people feel about the character and how he's designed and how viable he is for competitive play. And I mean, like, there always are going to be characters that are like good and bad, and he's consistently considered one of the lowest on the tier list. Like, and that says something.
I don't know. Like I said, I think there's a tier list for this game, sure, but I think every character is competitively viable. I think every character has their pluses and minuses. Sure, some may be harder to be better at, but I think when like someone masters those characters, it makes it way more entertaining to watch. I'd much rather watch like, a lot of people don't like Ryu or Ken because they're weird and have the input commands, and the only way to be good at Ryu and Ken is to know the input commands and do them consistently. But I would watch a good Ryu and Ken in that game like all day over like, I don't know, watching. I can't even think of like what a top tier fight in that game is because it's so open. There's so many characters that are high tier.
It's like usually Zero Suit. Why can't I think of Inkling? Wolf.
I don't see a lot of Inkling play. I don't see a lot of Inklings placing either. Like when I look at like these competitions, I see Joker a couple times. I see Zero Suit a couple times. But like Joker, I actually enjoy watching, so I'm not going to talk crap on Joker. But like Wario, I've seen. I enjoy Wario play. I'm happy that Gluttony plays a damn good Wario because I love watching a good Wario. Pac-Man, Rob, these are characters who have won majors. Like those are not characters that most people be like, this is the best character in the game. People say Pikachu is the best character in the game.
Yeah, it's up there. It's definitely up there. But
I think there's. It's all a matter of opinion, and the tier list is just more opinion. There's no if so facto. This is right. This is wrong.
Yeah, and there's always definitely like player efficiency. Let's go with that. You know what I mean? Like some of the reasons that I'm like wording the way I'm wording these things is kind of like, obviously if a professional player picks up any character and fights, let's say you or me, like it doesn't matter what they pick and it doesn't matter how viable their competitiveness is in the grand scheme of things.
But against other competitive players.
Right. It becomes a little bit different, you know what I mean? It's like, and it's the same thing for a lot of these majors. There's probably maybe anywhere from like 15 to 20 like super players, and the rest are just meh. We like the game. We enjoy that we're here. I'm glad I got to play, type of deal. You know what I mean? Like that's definitely, and that's not to say that there's a bunch of terrible players because that's
I was about to say I disagree with that. I feel like there's a lot more like really top players at these events than you're giving it credit for.
Yeah, I would say the people that are going to consistently perform, the sponsored players, is probably around 15 to 20 players. And I don't think that's ridiculous. That sounds about right to me. Anywhere from that range, it's about right. And I mean, like, yeah, there's thousands of people joining these events, and that doesn't mean that they're not better than me, because they are. But, in general, there's a difference between, like, an MKLeo versus, someone who performs well at their locals, There just is. There's definitely a different caliber of player.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with that, but I still, like I said, I don't think that any character really feels out of place. I mean, Bayonetta is the only one that I say feels out of place, and that's just more of an aesthetic thing. And maybe Solid Snake, I feel, feels out of place, but I think Little Mac feels right at home, personally. This seems like a perfect place for him. I don't know where else he would be, except for Smash, other than Punch-Out, obviously.
Right.
But yeah, so that's that. As I said earlier, they have released 5 new characters since the game launched. That's Piranha Plant, Joker, Hero, Banjo, and Terry. How do you feel about those additions and what they bring to the game?
In general, I think DLC was decent. Like, and this is like gonna come off as a criticism, but really it's not, because I think some of it's attached to how I feel about other games and how other games have decided to proceed forward, into this service-based game industry that it seems to be becoming. And I was hoping like for more game-breaking kind of mechanic changing type of things, and I feel like they're flirting with it to a degree. You know, so like Hero has his command list, which adds his move list up to like, you know, I don't know the exact number, but like I know there's at least 15 extra moves from
Something
his
like
command
that. I think
list.
it's 17.
17
Something
extra
like that.
moves, you know, so you know, on top of the general moves that everybody else has, he has an additional 17 moves. And I thought they were going to start breaking it open, you know, in a sense, you know, of like having different kind of ways of playing with different characters. You never know. Yeah, I don't know, and it's really hard to tell because in general, like I do get the vibe that you get, which is, hey, it's a party game, you know, and what you get is what you see, and that's what everyone should expect. And we'll add characters until we feel like we've exhausted that, and then we'll move on, you know. And
Yeah, but I mean, like all of the new characters except for Piranha Plant has a completely different mechanic that nobody else in the game has.
yeah, to some degree,
So
yeah,
they're all different. It's all breaking the mold by doing that.
it's a really safe way to do it, and I'm like hoping for more. I'm hoping for more.
I think that would
Like I
divide
don't.
the community even further, though. I think that if there's already a divide in the community, by making something so exponentially different, I don't think people would enjoy that. I think they would actually quite the opposite.
I mean, it's hard to say. Some of the things I would like ask for, I don't think they would actually be too upset. You know, in general, like when I think of fighting games, I think one of the most important aspects of a fighting game is how you return to neutral. And are you familiar with that term?
No,
Just to make sure. So
you
neutrals,
said it twice now, but I did not
yeah.
understand.
So neutrals basically like the general fighting situation. So, you know, you start the game itself and you end up in what's called neutral, which is like the zoning footsie stage of you both being at 0% and trying to close the distance and cause damage to the other individual. And anything kind of done in that scenario is considered neutral. You know, and then once you get it and opened up, then it becomes like combos and a bunch of other different things. But neutral's basically like you've done your combo, you know, you hit the ground, you reset, and then you guys fight again. So in a game like Killer Instinct or Mortal Kombat, it's basically like you do your combo. When your character hits the ground, you stand up, and when you guys are both standing up, you're back to neutral. That's generally kind of the consensus. And there's a better way to explain that, but
I think it doesn't work with Smash because it's a different fighter. Like, so whereas traditional fighting games, whether it be 2D or 3D, it exists on a single plane. But the fact Smash does not exist on a single plane. You could make it exist on a single plane, but majority of the time, even in competition, they don't just use Omega maps. They use all these maps. And because of that, I think that is why you will never have that, you know, back to neutral moment too often with Smash.
right, and that's one of the difficult aspects of it being number one, a fighting game, and number two, the way it's designed. And there are things you could do about it. So, for example, you know, and this is just an example. This is like me whiteboarding, trying to explain my idea. Hero has a move called Zoom, to where basically wherever he is on the map, no matter how much damage he's taken, if he's out of hit stun and he uses Zoom, he comes back to the center stage. And you know, that could be a mechanic for every character. Again, that's not what I'm advocating for. That's just me trying to explain that I think one of the things that suffers most about this game is your ability to return to neutral. So I like big, fat, ugly characters that do a ton of damage, but they're just juggle food. So if you play anybody who's good, they just hit you endlessly until they hit you off the map, and then your recovery is so bad that you can't make it back to the stage. And it's like, okay, you know, and there's a lot of characters that, like, yeah, they could hit you 3 times, and if you're good enough to get those 3 hits, great. But if the other person's good enough to just combo food you, they're going to do that, which is why people would argue that a lot of big characters aren't super viable and competitive. That doesn't mean that they're not, because obviously Bowser's really good. A lot of the heavy sets in this game are actually really, really good, you know, but even still, you know, the term's used often, you know, like you get hit, you're combo food. And the reason people don't like playing it is because if you have a player who knows how to punish you, It's pretty much what's going to happen if you get hit once, and then you have characters like Zero Suit and Joker that have all these crazy recovery options that allow you to return to an advantaged position. You're not always playing from behind if you get hit. It's like you can recover. And it's like, I wish there were some different things, even if it was just like, okay, different things for heavy characters to return to that state. So it's not just you got hit once, now you're dead. And I think, in general, I think that's the only thing that this game's missing is the ability to create that scenario. Whether it be moves that have armor that people have to play around. Like, there's a couple things you could probably do to make it work, but it's just me whiteboarding. And it's the one thing that I wish the game actually had.
Okay. So nothing else on the new characters? You just wish they had more mechanics? Or something?
Yeah, more mechanics. And then there is more. There is more. And I like them. I don't want anybody to think that I don't. I like all of them. I like Piranha Plant because it's just like, wow, you guys really, you went there. It was just a character that were like, everybody was like, why? And then Piranha Plant came and people were like, it's not really that competitive, but it's fun. And I think it gave a lot of life to the character itself. And to be honest, our last tournament, we actually had a good Piranha Plant. I was blown away, and they made it. They got third.
Dude, Piranha Plant's strong, man. He's got a lot of really good kill moves.
He's got a lot of damage, and he can kill, but his disadvantage is just crazy. And that was one of the reasons why he lost. It was just like ran into a snake, and he just literally hit him with everything. He hit him with the kitchen sink, like everything. Everything was landing. There was like nothing he could do after he got knocked off stage. So it was just one of those positions where he just got beat up a little bit. And then, like you said, there are like a lot of elements of the DLC characters that are a little bit different. I like that they're going to a more input heavy thing. I like that a lot of them are from fighters. I really enjoy that. And I really like the way they're bridging that gap between all these different like communities. And like, hopefully the next 5 will be pretty cool. If you don't remember, this actually isn't the first 5. Piranha Plant was kind of extra at the beginning. Right. So we still have one more character before the initial fighter pass is done. And then, who knows what they're going to do, because they're like, we're going to release more.
They haven't told us how many are in fighter pass 2. It might be 5 again. It might be 3. It might be one guy. It might just be Sakurai putting himself in the game.
That would actually be pretty dope.
I think that'd be hilarious. I don't think he would do it, but I think he would be super funny.
Yeah, I'd like it, to be honest.
But yeah, so what do you think, or who do you think gets that last Fighter Pass 1 slot? Because this has already been decided. They've decided this a year ago. We still don't know who's in that spot, though. They haven't announced it yet. I assumed they would announce it with Terry. They did not. So they're probably saving it for the Game Awards, which leads me to believe it's going to be a hype one.
I think they're going to go left field again. I think we're going to get something really random. So it's really hard to say. Like I really don't know. Like I don't know what to think. And like that's the greatest thing about the DLC that they've done thus far is like you don't know. And that's honestly the best part. Is like you could get anything, and there isn't a single soul that I feel like I've run into that are like, yeah, I knew it was coming. Like even Banjo, I was surprised. Like,
well, yeah, because everybody had wanted Banjo forever, and it was about time he finally made it in. But until you see it in person, you don't believe it.
Right.
Like I can read a million leaks telling me that, Sora or Ryu Hayabusa or any of these other amount of characters are coming to the game. But until I see them actually come to the game, I'm not going to believe it. But, yeah, I think the next character, I also think it's kind of going to be something that it's not going to be one that was voted on in the past ballot. It's not going to be like, because a lot of these were determined by like what people voted for in the last ballot. I don't think he or she is going to get, I think it's going to be Tracer is what I'm trying to say. I think it's going to be Tracer. Or some Overwatch rep. I think the relationship with Blizzard, even though Blizzard right now is in the hot seat for a lot of people, and a lot of people are not too happy with Blizzard, myself included, I could really give a crap less about them right now. But I do think that the relationship with Blizzard and Nintendo is to a point where I think that might be, if not one of this not this character, I think that's a good chance for part 2.
Definitely for part 2. I'd actually prefer it to be like a Diablo character, though. Like, I think that would just be cooler.
That would be cool, but I think
It'd be cooler.
I think that Overwatch has too much mainstream appeal over Diablo.
I mean, I definitely think so. With the announcement of the newest one, though, like, yeah, I don't know. And obviously, I don't think Nintendo would actually know that. So, seeing how this stuff was decided a year ago, there's a good chance that.
I'm sure they knew that Nintendo. I'm sure Nintendo knew that Overwatch 2 is in development.
No, I'm talking about if it was like Diablo, so like Diablo 4 and stuff like that, and that being announced just recently and such, and like everybody knew it was coming, but
I mean, it was not even a real announcement though. Like everyone's getting like they said in the panel when they were questioned afterwards, they're like, "So when is this coming?" And they were like, "No time soon." Right. It was basically just an announcement because everybody got mad that they didn't announce it last year. Right. So they're like, "Yeah, here it is. Here's some gameplay. When's it coming out? 15 years? Who knows?"
just get off our backs, man.
Yeah, exactly. We told you it was coming. That's all you have to worry about.
Right. Yeah. But like, who knows, man? Because like, they can obviously go like the anime route. They can go, they can go superhero route. I think that would. Oh be no, cool.
I don't. The Sakurai has already said he doesn't want to do any character that's not like primarily a video
game. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. So that kind of rules out like Batman or Spider-Man or Goku. Sorry, Goku. He was the only one who I thought had stood a fighting chance, but no, I don't think so. I think Goku is pretty much dead. But all right, so here's my next question and final question. Well, I have 2 more questions. If you had to pick right now 5 characters of your choice, put into Smash in the second fighter pass, if it was 5 characters, who you putting in? Not characters that like have leaked and you're like, oh, that could be interesting, but like characters that you want in the game.
I wouldn't want him in the game, but I feel like I need to add him to the list anyway. Okay. And that is Master Chief because I don't know, I like
That's
Master
your boy.
Chief.
That's fair.
Yeah. And then man, you kind of threw that on me. I should have expected this question though.
Do you want me to go? Maybe I can give you some ideas.
Let me think about it real quick.
So, once again, this is all Dan Estrada's opinion and the opinion of no one else. But these are characters that I would like to see in the game. Number 1, gotta go Sora. I know he's been leaked a million times and all this stuff, and he'll probably never end up in the game. But Sora has become an iconic gaming character for this generation. And I think it's only fair that he be in this game. He's in the fake Smash Brothers that somebody made on Flash in like 1997 on the computer. Like Sora's in there. Let's get Sora in here. I think he would fit perfectly with the cast. I think he would meld well and he'd have a really cool and interesting style. The only reason I don't think it might happen is because how many reps are Square Enix truly going to get? Another character I'm going to say is Dante from the Devil May Cry series. Because the Devil May Cry series is badass. Dante was always a fun character to play in Marvel vs. Capcom, so he already kind of has like a fighting game moveset. And Devil May Cry is badass. I would love some Devil May Cry music in this game, like so bad. And we got Bayonetta already, so whatever. It's fine. Another one that I don't know how it would work, but I'd be very interested in seeing it. And once again, this is all me, so obviously this is another one of my favorite games. Handsome Jack or Lilith, like some Borderlands character. I think Lilith would work better because she's a siren, and you can use that to kind of, do different siren abilities or something like that. But I think Handsome Jack could be really cool too with his doppelganger and whatnot, and just talking the entire time would be really hilarious. Crash, number 4. another gaming icon that I think if we're gonna put them all in the game, might as well put them all in the game. Crash had a career renaissance in the past few years with the remaster of the Insane trilogy and the re-release of Crash Team Racing. I think Crash is at a good state right now to bring into the game. His moveset might be a little weird because he doesn't like his main attack is to spin. I don't really know that he has too many other attacks, but hopefully they can figure something out because I think he would be a great character to put in these games. And then a fifth one, and this is totally a meme one, and I'm only choosing it because I saw someone design a move list for it, and I thought it was hilarious, and I was like, great, now I want this in the game. And it's the Goose from Untitled Goose Game. Because how absolutely amazing and ridiculous would that be? The only issue I might have with that is that I don't think there's a whole lot of music in that game, and one of my favorite things about every Smash character is the music we get with it. And I mean, we got 50 tracks with Terry Bogard. I really wish I cared about King of Fighters more because that would be awesome. But yeah, so those are 5 characters that I think I would like to see in the game. Do I think any of those will probably be in the game? Maybe one. Maybe either Sora or Crash. I would give them the highest chances. But I don't think they're going to put in Lilith or Handsome Jack or anything like that. So Dante maybe. I don't know. I'm surprised there's not a Capcom. Well, I guess you have Ryu and Ken, but other than them, I'm surprised there's not another Capcom rep. Like Resident Evil or something.
All right. So I guess I'll go into mine. I thought about it a little bit. I kind of went anime-ish / cartoonish, but yeah, Chief would be first.
What was the first one?
Master Chief.
Oh, Chief. I thought you said Sheik. I was like, Sheik's already in the game, bro.
One
down. One down, 4 to go.
For some reason, even though I kind of like the show, I don't even like it that much. Sword Art. For whatever
Kirito?
reason, I forget his name.
Kirito?
Kirito. Like, I don't know. Like, I just think it'd be kind of cool. And even though it'd be beaten to death, let's do like some kind of like Naruto or something like that. Well, why not? It's 3. Like I was like thinking so hard about like different video games I would like to see in it, and I really can't think of too many. Like.
There's a lot more that I could like think of that I didn't even like credit. Pretty much anybody that was in PlayStation All-Stars, I'd be okay with them being in this game. Nathan Drake, God of War, or Kratos is his actual name.
Yeah, Kratos would be good too. Kratos would be really good, actually. I think he'd fit. I think he's a little too violent, and I'm in like.
Well, like I said, he already has a moveset from PlayStation All-Stars. So
right.
Not too much harder to bring over.
And then, so all right, we're Kratos. That makes sense to me. And then Ryu would be kind of cool. Ryu Hayabusa would be pretty awesome.
Yeah, that's one that's leaked a whole bunch, and I was always like, that could be cool. But I was always like, whatever. I would never play it. I can't play fast characters. Like, it pains me so much that Joker is so fast because I'm just not good with him.
All right, and he has a pretty unique moveset as well. It's not even like a normal moveset, in my opinion.
Yeah.
But actually, I'm gonna change one. I'm gonna throw an extra one in there. A Gundam character would be cool. I don't even really like Gundam like that much, but
maybe like a cool. Daemon X Machina.
Yeah, or even that, to where it's like, yeah, that'd be pretty cool.
Tetris L Block, baby, let's go.
Get it.
All right, and the final thing I have is, what would you like to see added or updated about the game? Like in the coming years, other than obviously characters and balance changes and stuff like that.
Right. For me, it'd be that mechanic. It's just like kind of creating different ways that the game can return to neutral. And like, I'm not saying it's easy. This is my wish list. Is that would be it? Like I have a coworker at work that I talk to a lot about these kinds of things, and he ends up talking about Smash a lot just because he knows, I do this. And, like I always talk about how, like, I feel like it should be the opposite. I think the big characters should have the best recoveries in the game, you know. And so it's like, yeah, they're combo food, but they recover from like anything until like they get hit with the death move. And I'm sure there's ways around that and so on and so forth. But I think that would, like, I just want to see more viability from the different kinds of characters in the game. Not to say that they're not, because like we've said thus far, there are a lot of good big characters. There's a lot, you know. Bowser's like the king example. He's really good.
I mean, King
Really,
K.
really
Rool,
good.
man. He actually has good recovery.
Yeah, but I mean, most people think he's trash. Like all the tier lists I see, he's like the.
He just got buffed in this most recent patch.
Yeah, and so we'll give some time to see how it turns out, you know. But I know DK got a lot of buffs, and I was like excited about that.
Yeah, it was a big boy heavy patch.
Right.
Nothing done to Hero. Nothing done to his side B, which is absolutely insane.
It's absurd. Broken. All his specials are absurd. I don't even think his command list is that absurd.
No, it's not, because it's completely RNG and it's like almost impossible to use accurately. But the rest of the moves are so strong.
But that Fura, I think it does like 40%.
The fireball?
Yeah.
It's sizzle.
Yeah, it's so absurd. And then, you know, the lightning's good too. It has so much range.
The side B is absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah,
it has so much range.
And they both kill.
They can kill you really easily.
Yeah, they both kill. Yeah. And I'm like,
I
don't know if that's fair.
When I talked about Hero earlier, I said that the RNG mechanic of him was not the problem. The problem is that his specials are too hard. And that's still the problem.
Yeah. I mean, I agree.
But for me, the only thing I would like added to the game, and once again, I'm not a very competitive player. I play this game pretty casually. Like, I'll play with my friends and have good fights every now and again. But what I would like is, because I'm a player, there's so many characters in this game. It's overwhelming how many characters there are in this game. So many that I like a lot of them, but I also really don't like playing as other ones. I would like the option to set my, like when I use random, to only set like I can set favorites to random, like you would do in like Fortnite skins or something like that. So only the characters who I at least somewhat enjoy playing, and like I'll still probably end up picking like 30 characters because there's, 74, 75 or whatever. I'll still end up picking like about 30 characters, but that way I'm actually getting characters who I want to play and not getting Pit every other game. I don't want to play as Pit. I don't want to play as Corrin. I don't like those characters. Stop giving them to me. That's it. That's really the only change I would make. If they gave me that, I'd be happy. They have that sort of with stages. Just, let me do it with characters. I just want certain characters.
Now that you mention it, there are quite a few quality of life changes. But the biggest one, and the only one I'm going to mention, is the whole online arena. Well, actually, that's two. It'd be like to have real servers for the actual game. For people who do like to play online. It obviously has a lot to do with what we do.
Yeah, the online is a big issue with the game, and that's part of the reason I don't play it online too much. Well, I mean, it is, no game gets me tilted quicker than Smash Brothers. I can play 2 games of just online Smash and just decide that I don't want to do anything for the rest of the night because it just completely takes everything out of me.
Yeah, sucks your soul dry.
Oh, absolutely. So that's why I don't play I'll play it with my friends. Like, I'll do arena with friends, and there's usually no problem with that as long as everybody's running on good connection. But playing online, you're at the whims of, either someone who has terrible connection. Sometimes you'll get someone matched with good connection, and then the one person you'll get matched with good connection should be an elite Smash and is absolutely trouncing you, even though you're have 100,000 GSP, and you should not be matched with this guy.
Yeah, so that's obviously a big one. Even if you let us host our own, we would actually host our own server if we could, happily, and that would be pretty awesome. So either give your community the opportunity to do that, or flat out just provide the service. Yeah, people are gonna pay for it, and it's. I hate saying that. Hey,
I don't think they should charge for it. People already have to pay for Nintendo Online. There's no reason they should charge to make their online service better more than they already are,
I agree, but at this point, because it's so important and pivotal towards what we do, I'd give him a couple extra bucks just to have a server, and I mean, hey, I get it, I agree, but beggars can't be choosers, and at this point, hey,
That's fair. Hey, man, do your thing.
Please, man,
I
please.
probably will not pay extra money for that, but yeah, I totally don't doubt that people will pay extra
Right.
money.
So, that element. And then there's a lot of like online things that I feel like could be improved. The ability to switch stages after done, the ability to change your characters.
Characters,
It's
yeah, without
still,
having
it's
to leave
still,
the game with the person.
yeah, it's still kind of really clunky, like
Yeah,
a rematch function.
I agree. The online definitely needs work, and it's weird because the online for Smash Four was not as bad as it is in this game, which is weird. Like you would expect them to move forward, not step back. Because like in four, you could switch characters in between games. You could stay with the same person and still switch your character. You weren't locked into that character. And like I get that's a thing that a lot of fighting games are doing now to kind of alleviate a lot of downtime and load time. But still, like I want the option to switch a character. I liked playing with this guy, but he beat me at a character I wasn't good at. Let me play as a character I'm good at and fight him again.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, and just speeding that up would actually be really, really good. I've seen people kind of discuss, how they feel about fighting games, and one of the things that keeps people engaged and what keeps the community strong, and a healthy online definitely does that. And the harder it is to have a match, the longer it takes between matches, all those things definitely affect how much people play the game and how much they enjoy it. Because a lot of people don't like waiting at waiting screens for anything. So, it doesn't change for video games at all. So if you have to continuously have this really clunky experience to where you're fighting the system more than you are the actual players, you do run into some issues. And it's not so clunky that's not doable, but it would be a decent quality of life change. And they have been making them. The latest one that they did actually improve the online arena thing.
Yeah, the battle arenas,
Yeah,
especially making them open, that you didn't have to just be like friends with the person. You could just join them.
Right. Yeah, so all those things are just they've been making them better. Hopefully they get all the way and they meet us
Well, I mean, it
exactly
also
where we want.
depends on how long the game lasts. Uh, I could see them making changes like that as time progresses because if the game lasts long, if it's going to be like games as a service type deal, you're going to have to make those changes or else you'll start to lose your player
Yeah.
base, I would guess.
Well, I mean, they just passed the highest bought, I think, fighting game in history, I think, not too long ago. That's
Yeah,
something I
but
mentioned.
yeah,
So,
but you got to understand that probably about 60% of those people, if not more, have no intentions of playing that game like with anything but their friends.
I mean, that's very true. But even still, those things I feel like could be like changed. I think you could commit people to actually kind of engage more. There are better ways to engage more. The way they design, the way their messaging works, and all that other stuff, that's how they want you to play the game. That's how they expect you to play the game.
Right.
Both. So it's like, if you push people that way, then they'll go that way. But, you host a couple tournaments that have some pretty big prize pools, you organize a couple of events and so on and so forth. All of a sudden, you have a bunch of people trying to play in these events and during those things, because it's not like Nintendo's tournaments aren't popular. They are.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, it just depends on how you organize it and what you encourage your customers to do with the product that you set out. Hey, this is another way to have fun with the game. And people like that.
Yeah, no, for sure. I don't disagree with that. I'm just saying that that's probably the reason why they're not focusing on the online so heavy is because and the reason why they're like updating the battle arena and not like regular matchmaking is because of probably the amount of people who play it like differs strongly, I would say.
Right. So,
because I mean, personally, like I said, if I go online to like play, I'm usually playing with my friends. If I try and go on like regular competitive or whatever, I just get really angry. So I try not to do it too much for my health.
Right.
But yeah, that's all I had. That's Smash Ultimate. One year later.
Right.
Almost 1 year. almost.
Yeah, and then I guess I'll give my little like closing tidbit is that it's
Sure.
a great game. It really is. And I really do stand by the fact that I think it's the best iteration of its game. Um,
Hmm.
you know, they can take it farther. I've heard some comments from, popular influence figures of the scenario and stuff like that, and like, people seem to kind of agree, that there are some things that could be improved
Right.
upon.
Well, I mean
Um,
that's anything though. Like
correct,
like
correct, and like, but overall, it was a step in the right direction, and depending on what they plan to do with the game itself, we'll really tell, because I feel like we still don't quite know what they plan to do, and
do you think we'll ever see another Smash Brothers game after this?
I couldn't tell you. That's the problem. I honestly couldn't tell you, and it's because of the way they've approached the initial release of this game and the DLC up thus far, and them going,
Hmm.
"Oh, okay, I guess it really is popular. Let's release more characters." Like to me,
Yeah, honestly, I don't think we'll ever see anything past Smash Ultimate. I think if they end up, Nintendo makes the Switch 2 or some, they probably won't call it that. I don't think they 2 any of their consoles, but they'll call it like, I don't know, something dumb. Nintendo likes to name their things kind of dumb. So they'll name it something, and I think we'll get a port of Smash Ultimate and it'll just continue on from there. I
yeah,
think this will be like the last Smash game.
it's like, again, it's so hard to tell, like, because they could renege halfway and go, "Hey, here's an add-on," kind of like Overwatch 2, to a
Right.
degree.
Yeah.
They'll probably won't call it Overwatch 2. Hey, here's a big expansion to the
Yeah.
original game. And like, I could definitely see them going that way. That's a way to get around that whole "you'll never see another Smash game."
On that topic and a little off topic, Overwatch 2, you think it's going to be a straight up like $60 new game you got to buy, or you think it's going to be like $30 add on to Overwatch 1?
I think that would be very generous of Blizzard/Activision to do that. Um, so my initial thought
You
is,
think it's going to be a $60 game?
yeah,
Really? I think that's kind of dumb. I think they're not. I mean, it depends on how much single player content they add, but I think that's kind of cheap.
I and did they already tell us how many characters we were getting? Wasn't it
New
just two?
characters with it?
Yeah, yeah.
I don't think they said anything because it's not coming out anytime soon either. Like, they said it was going to come out in I think 2 years, or like that's the table they're shooting for.
Hmm.
But they announced it for the Xbox One and PS4, which are out the door in a year. So I don't understand what's going on with them there, but who knows?
Yeah, who knows? So like that's probably what would make me buy it, is if there was like a large character dump. Because I still like the
Right,
game.
yeah. I mean, you said that when we had a State of Overwatch episode,
Right.
and you were like, that's a thing that they need to do, and I don't think they're going to do that, which is a bummer because I figured with Overwatch 2 would come, a significant amount of characters. But
I've said then, like maybe 5 for each group of different kinds of characters, and now it even reduced, so that'd be like an additional 15 characters now
Mhm.
that there's only 3 kinds of
And like I get
classes.
it because characters take a long time to develop and to balance them properly with the amount of like care that Overwatch puts into their characters and all that good stuff. But if you're going to charge me $60, at least make it worth it.
Yeah, and it's good for the health, because like I've mentioned before, that kind of like the way the game's designed, it's just, it's not that it's bad. It really isn't. Some of it's the community, but some of it's just not enough variety to counter what it is you're encountering. So I feel like barriers are really strong. I feel like healing's really, really strong. And, all the different ways to counter that stuff is like too nichey. So it's like tank busters or something like Reaper and so on and so forth. And it's like,
Mhm.
there should probably be more options. There should probably be more ways to handle an issue if you're having one, you know, and a lot of the time it feels like you kind of get typecasted into specific things because there's just not enough variety, you know, and some of the things are just so niche that it's like, yeah, that's what we're supposed to do, but if we pick that character, we're limited so much by all the other things that character can't make up for. So, you know, like for me, I think barriers are they're just too strong in that game. Like, I just hate being the only person who's going to shoot a shield. And, you know, the only one smart enough not to run in there and die. Like, just don't.
And it's more so that people are just dumb and play the game not. I mean, there's no right or wrong way to play it because, you know, it's a game and all that stuff, but there's kind of a right and wrong way to play it. And people like to pick characters that they don't know or are not particularly good at, and they don't use them correctly, and that's a whole issue in its own.
Right. And I mean, like, there are always going to be people who are good and bad, and that's fine. It's just it is what it is, man. It is what it is. Let's just leave it there, because it's like it's a whole tirade. And it's the same thing everybody
has nothing to do with Smash.
Yeah. It was like, ugh.
And I'm like falling asleep over here, so we should probably wrap it up about now. But yeah, that was the state of Smash. What do you guys think about Smash? Are you into it? Are you feeling it? Are you really feeling it? Are you excited for the future? Who do you think are the 5 characters, if there are 5 characters in Fighter Pass 2? Or who would you like to see? Is it 5 Gokus? Because if you were playing DBZ Fighters, that's what you would get. I'm just kidding. That game's fine, but there are a lot of Gokus. There's like half the roster is Goku.
It's a lot.
there's at least 5.
It's a lot.
Yeah. But anyway, that's all I got.
All right. We'll see you guys later.
We're gonna be
return
gone until February. February. That's long.
I was like,
December. December is the month I'm thinking of.
Yeah.
So we're going to be gone for a bit, and I guess when we return in December, we'll tell you what's going on in December.
Yeah, and it's definitely the best way to start, and it'll be late, but hey, it's all good, man.
It won't be late. We'll be...
It might be right on time. Who knows?
Hold on. I'll tell you right now. I think it'll be legitimately the 2nd day of December is when we will record next, so... That's not really late. That's pretty on time. Nothing comes out.
It's close. It's close.
What's coming out on December 1st on a Sunday? Okay, please tell me. Please tell me what form of media comes out on Sundays. None.
But yeah, we'll see you guys later, man.
Later, guys.